Bheema, submerged in the depths of the river, was bitten by venomous snakes. Surprisingly, the poison of these snakes counteracted the deadly poison in his body, neutralizing its effects. Slowly, Bheema regained consciousness, his senses stirring to life. As his mind cleared, he broke free of the creepers that bound his hands and legs with sheer strength. Fully awake, Bheema was both terrified and bewildered by his surroundings. The place he found himself in was unlike anything he had ever seen. Dark yet strangely illuminated, he felt as though he was still underwater, yet he could breathe effortlessly, and the gravity seemed lighter, making his movements feel surreal. The environment was otherworldly, leaving him unsure if he was in reality or a dream. Before he could make sense of the situation, he was surrounded by enormous, venomous snakes, creatures far larger and more fearsome than any he had encountered on Earth. The snakes, moving with menacing intent, began closing in on him. Though fear gripped him initially, Bheema resolved to fight back. He knew escape was impossible, so he decided to kill as many snakes as he could before their venom took effect. Gripping the snakes with his bare hands, Bheema fought ferociously, slamming them to the ground and tearing them apart. The sheer force of his resistance was astounding. Just as he was battling with unrelenting determination, a commanding voice echoed, ordering him to stop. It was Vasuki, the mighty king of the Nagas. Vasuki, impressed by Bheema's extraordinary courage and indomitable spirit, approached him. The king inquired about his identity, and Bheema introduced himself. Standing beside Vasuki was a sage named Aryaka, who revealed himself to be Bheema's maternal great-grandfather, the father of Surasena, Kunti's biological father. Aryaka spoke to Bheema with warmth and affection, marveling at his valor, and explained that he was now in Nagaloka, an underwater realm. Vasuki, still impressed by the scene, remarked on Bheema's bravery. He explained that many would have perished from sheer fright at the sight of such deadly snakes. Yet Bheema not only faced them but fought them with unmatched fearlessness. As a reward for his courage and strength, Vasuki presented Bheema with a special elixir, a divine liquid that he claimed would grant him the immense physical power of 1,000 elephants. Without hesitation, Bheema drank the liquid from the pot, his body surging with energy as he emptied it in a single gulp. One pot was not enough for the voracious Bheema. He drank 8 pots of the divine elixir continuously. Overwhelmed by its potency, his body entered a deep sleep, his mind and muscles resting as the divine strength coursed through him. The tension in Hastinapura had grown unbearable as the search for Bheema continued relentlessly. Soldiers were dispatched in every direction, and Vidura sent professional swimmers to search the Pramanakoti River, hoping to find some trace of the missing prince. Dhritarashtra and Bheeshma also issued orders to intensify the search efforts, leaving no stone unturned. Meanwhile, Duryodhana, though outwardly appearing concerned, was secretly relieved, believing that Bheema was gone for good. His heart swelled with satisfaction as days passed without any news of Bheema. Kunti was in deep anguish, unable to find peace since her son's disappearance. Despite Gandhari's attempts to console her, Kunti's pain remained insurmountable. Every day, Yudhisthir and his brothers would leave at dawn to search for Bheema and return at night, exhausted and disheartened. The palace's atmosphere was heavy with worry and despair. On the 9th day, just as hope began to wane, Bheema returned to Hastinapura. He walked into the palace with a smile on his face, his body free of any wounds, and headed straight to Kunti and his brothers. Kunti, overwhelmed with joy, embraced him tightly, her tears of sorrow replaced by those of relief and happiness. The Pandavas were equally elated, and for a moment, the tension in the palace dissolved into joy. Bheema recounted his extraordinary experience to his mother and brothers. He spoke of how he had been swept into a mysterious realm, bitten by snakes whose venom neutralized the poison in his body. He described his encounter with Vasuki, the king of the Nagas, and Aryaka, Kunti's great-grandfather, who had treated him with warmth and affection. He shared how Vasuki had rewarded his courage with a divine liquid that granted him the strength of 10,000 elephants and another potion that rendered him immune to poison. Though Kunti and the Pandavas were astonished by the unnatural events Bheema described, their relief at his safe return overshadowed their doubts. As they celebrated, Yuyutsu, the son of Dhritarashtra and maidservant Sulabha, approached them. With a heavy heart, he revealed a dark secret. He had witnessed Duryodhana carrying Bheema in the dead of night. Yuyutsu admitted he was too terrified to intervene, but was certain that Duryodhana was responsible for the attempt on Bheema's life. Hearing this, Bheema's expression darkened with rage. He recalled how Duryodhana had given him a special dish during the Jalavihara, and the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Enraged, Bheema declared his intent to confront and kill Duryodhana immediately. Kunti, deeply saddened by the cruelty shown to her son, pleaded with Bheema to restrain himself. Yudhisthira, ever the voice of reason, also urged Bheema to exercise patience and consult Vidura first. Vidura listened intently to the account of events and advised them to keep the matter a secret. He explained that with Dhritarashtra's favoritism toward Duryodhana and the Pandavas' precarious position in the royal family, accusing Duryodhana without concrete evidence could backfire. The only witness, Yuyutsu, being the son of a maid, could easily be discredited. Vidura warned that such accusations might lead to severe consequences, including the exile of the Pandavas. Though still furious, Bheema understood the gravity of Vidura's advice and reluctantly agreed to remain silent. Duryodhana, upon seeing Bheema alive and well, was struck with shock and disbelief. His heart, which had been soaring with joy for the past 9 days, shattered into pieces. Bheema, when questioned by Bheeshma about his absence, offered a simple explanation. He had fallen into the river, been swept away, and regained consciousness far away. He claimed it took him days to return. Bheeshma, relieved at Bheema's safe return, arranged for Brahmins to perform a yagna to ward off any evil influences on him. Shakuni, in his characteristic subtle manner, explained to Duryodhana that while all the Kauravas were born as a blessing from Lord Shiva, the Pandavas were unique. They were hybrids born to a human mother through the intervention of the Devas, the highest level of consciousness in the universe. This divine origin naturally made the Pandavas superior to even the best of humans on earth. Shakuni emphasized that it would be impossible to bring them down through physical strength alone. Defeating them would require exceptional cleverness and strategic thinking. Duryodhana doubted Shakuni's words and questioned whether it was even possible to overcome the Pandavas through cunning and strategy. Shakuni, with a knowing smile, responded that the destruction of a person depends on how strong the desire is, held by the one who seeks to destroy him. This conversation struck a chord with Duryodhana, and he began to grasp the deeper meaning behind Shakuni's words. Feeling reassured by Shakuni's guidance, Duryodhana opened up to him completely, fully trusting him as the ally he needed to achieve his ambitions. A few days later, Duryodhana, still upset about Bhima, decided to try poisoning him again. He took the strongest poison he had requested from the alchemist. However, Yuyutsu overheard Duryodhana's plan and quickly warned Bhima. Bhima, aware of the plot, decided to face it directly. He approached Duryodhana and asked for the special dish he had been served earlier, saying he enjoyed it. Duryodhana, thinking Bhima was foolish, happily prepared the dish again, adding a deadly dose of poison. Bhima ate it in front of him without hesitation, finishing the dish effortlessly. Duryodhana eagerly waited for the poison to work, but nothing happened. Confused and frustrated, he thought the alchemist had tricked him. To test the poison, he gave it to a horse, which died instantly. Duryodhana was shocked and couldn't understand why it didn't affect Bhima, while Bhima quietly enjoyed watching his frustration. Meanwhile, Drona wandered through the streets of Hastinapura, unsure if leaving his ashram and coming to the city was the right decision. As he neared the palace, he heard that Bhima, who had been missing, had returned. He thought about entering the palace but hesitated, remembering how Drupada had insulted him in a royal court. Choosing to avoid the palace, he walked around and soon came across the Kuru princes playing a game called Gilli Danda. One of the princes ran to Drona, asking for help. Their gilli had fallen into a deep well, and they couldn't retrieve it. Drona went with them and saw the situation. He questioned why, as princes, they lacked the skills to solve such a simple problem. To show them his abilities, Drona threw his ring into the well as well and told them he would retrieve both. Chanting a mantra, he shot an arrow into the well. Moments later, the arrow emerged with both the gilli and the ring. The princes were amazed by Drona's incredible skill. Impressed, they asked Drona who he was and how they could thank him. Drona told them to inform Bheeshma about what had happened and walked away. The princes reported the incident to Bheeshma, describing the Brahmin with unmatched divine archery skills. Bheeshma immediately realized it was Drona. Kripacharya, who had been hosting Drona, admitted he had delayed introducing him to the court because of the tense situation caused by Bhima's disappearance. With the crisis resolved, Bheeshma decided it was the perfect time to formally welcome Drona and appoint him as the royal guru, a plan he had intended to counter Shakuni's conspiracy. Bheeshma, accompanied by Kripacharya, personally visited Drona to welcome him to Hastinapura, treating him with the highest respect. Drona, overwhelmed by the gesture, felt deeply honored to receive such regard from Bheeshma, the greatest warrior of the era. Upon reaching the royal palace, Drona was greeted with a grand ceremonial welcome. Maidens showered him with flowers, and Bheeshma presented him with royal attire and fine jewelry. The royal gurus recited poems praising Drona's illustrious journey, from being a disciple of Lord Parashurama to establishing a renowned ashram and training countless disciples without the patronage of any king. Drona's heart swelled with pride and satisfaction, affirming that his life's path had led him to this destined moment. Bheeshma then formally requested Drona to accept the role of royal guru of Hastinapura alongside Kripacharya. Drona, feeling deeply respected and valued, received the honor. Shakuni, caught off guard by the swift events, found no opportunity to manipulate Dhritarashtra into opposing Drona's appointment. In a private conversation with Bheeshma, Drona expressed a heartfelt desire that he hoped Bheeshma would help him fulfill. Bheeshma said that he and his kingdom were honored to host a great guru like Drona, and assured him that he would do whatever was needed to support him. Drona then shared his story with Bheeshma, recounting his childhood friendship with King Drupada of Panchala. They had grown up together in Drona's father Bharadwaja's ashram, where Drupada had once promised lifelong help and support. However, when Drona later sought assistance from Drupada, the king humiliated him, treating him like a beggar in his royal court and insulting him in front of his family. The incident had left a deep scar on Drona's heart. Drona revealed his plan to train his son Ashwathama and, with a strong army, lead a campaign against Drupada to humble the arrogant king. He requested Bheeshma's support, specifically asking that the Kuru princes, once trained, be allowed to join the campaign against Panchala. Bheeshma listened carefully but hesitated, reminding Drona that Panchala had been a long-standing ally of Hastinapura. Despite his reservations, he agreed to Drona's request, but with one critical condition. Bheeshma explained that the knowledge of Divyastras had been carefully safeguarded for generations by the Kuru kingdom. Only the most mature and responsible individuals were entrusted with such knowledge. He expressed concern that political schemes were trying to spread this dangerous power indiscriminately, which could lead to catastrophic consequences. Drona understood Bheeshma's concerns and assured him that as the royal guru of Hastinapura, he would ensure the knowledge of Divyastras was only taught to the Kuru princes and his son, Ashwathama. Reassured by Drona's promise, Bheeshma felt relieved and agreed to support Drona's plan to send the princes against Drupada after completing their training. This conversation marked a pivotal moment, strengthening the bond between Drona and Hastinapura and setting the stage for significant events in the future.